Hi everyone, my name is Ali and I'm a photographer slash artist. My project this year is about documenting the consciousness and how it's viewed in the present. The present being 2019, on the belief that all art is a form of history, not a literal history, but a history on how we view things. Today you'll be seeing work from fine art and photography. Okay, so the question I'm asking everybody is, what do you think about talking to yourself? What do you think about talking to yourself?
Talking to myself, I do it all the time, so I think it's a good thing.
What do you think about talking to yourself?
I do it constantly. I generally have conversations with myself. It's quite fun. It helps me think.
Talking to yourself?
About talking to myself?
Yes.
I love it. I do it all the day, every day.
What do you think about talking to yourself?
Talking to myself?
Yes, talking to yourself.
Talk to myself all the time.
I do it all the time.
It says, what do you think about talking to yourself?
I heard you ask that question. I talked to Alex and it was like strange because if you talk out loud, then it might be considered strange. But everyone does it in their head, don't they?
Right. So
talking to myself, let's see. It helps me work out all the little things that I always thought I didn't know. Oh, I did know. Wait, no, now it's gone again. Yeah. Seriously, the whole idea is simple. I love it. It's like 25 different me's inside, all screaming and shouting and raving, and they all want one thing, to be heard. Only one mouth. So can't really help, you know. So yeah, it's a good way to work out whether I'm crazy or not. Hold on. I think in that department, I might have to go to say that I am crazy, which is a good thing because you never get crazier than that. Anyway, have a nice day now.
Thank you. What do you think about talking to yourself?
Well,
Talk to the camera, please.
talking to myself. To be fair, actually, I talk to myself quite a bit. Like, it helps clear your mind in a sense. If you get what I mean. Like, if you're struggling to put down things, pen to paper, or I don't even know. Like, I just find myself in weird situations talking to myself. Like when I'm walking home, I will just say most of the thoughts which are in my head. Like, I'll think out loud, but then it will turn into a conversation with myself. Like I'll answer the question that I just asked myself.
I do it all the time.
Do you find it weird?
It's
Talk to the camera, please.
It's a habit that I picked up when I was little, because my dad used to talk to himself because he was schizophrenic. So when I was little, I started talking to myself. I thought it was normal, and I still do it now.
I often do it.
Sometimes I have to talk to myself when I'm having up.
How do you think that?
When talking to myself?
Yes.
I don't talk to myself.
You don't talk to yourself at all?
No, I just think, but I don't talk to myself.
I think it's just a way of reflecting on what's true sometimes. I wouldn't suggest that something like
So as a general consensus, how do you think consciousness is viewed nowadays?
Well, as in like someone's conscious.
As in like being aware of the fact that everybody around us has a consciousness, right? A sentient being. Do you think people are aware of that, or how do they view that? Do they view people as people, or do they view people as objects?
Okay, well, I want to say this in two ways. I'll say our generation knows that there is other people's consciousness.
Agreed.
And then the older generation still sees some as objects and some as non-entities, if you get what I mean. But me personally, I feel like everyone does know and see everyone else's consciousness.
How do you think it's viewed? As in, do you think it's weird?
Outside,
yes.
from outside. No. Crazy madness.
Crazy madness.
I don't think it's too weird. I think everyone talks to themselves.
Okay, but how do you think that's viewed today? As in the present, is that viewed as weird?
Fine. No, I don't think so. Maybe.
Yeah, I think sometimes it is.
I don't think many people think about it, because most people are talking to themselves as they walk along the road, because they're talking on their phone. So most people don't really take any notice. I mean, somebody said, hey you, when I was walking down today, and I turned around because I thought they were talking to me, but they were talking on their phone. So
okay.
I think, but I talk to myself all the time anyway. I narrate myself all the time. So
the people that don't talk to themselves, but they're more weird.
So so you think there are people who don't talk to themselves?
Well, yeah, I've been told by countless people I've never spoken to myself. I'm like, why? And they're like, well, I do it in my head. I like talking to you, Barry. It's much easier. See, that's just me talking to myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I have no idea what the people think.
do you think they'll find it weird, or do you think they'll be okay with it?
Why would they find it weird? Everyone talks to themselves. I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't talk to himself. It's just kind of natural to talk to yourself. And it's the most natural thing in the world is to talk to yourself before actually speak. Say, think before speak.
It's viewed as weird, but I give myself the best advice, so I don't really care what anyone...
Why do you think it's viewed as weird? Or was there any point in history when it wasn't viewed as weird?
I don't know the history of talking to yourself, and like I know monologues and like, you know, independent thing. It's always been it's a natural thing, human nature to speak to yourself. So I don't know if when it started to come out as being weird or whatever, but
like you're weird. Yeah, but if you do it in public, it's weird. If you do it at home, no one can hear you.
But you can do it without making a noise, right?
Yeah, but then that's just your thoughts.
What are you talking?
Oh, definitely. If you see people walking around London talking to themselves, then people think that they're crazy and they ignore them and they don't look at them. And
But do you think it's quite normal? Do people talk to themselves all the time?
I don't know. I mean, people do that general thing of like, if they drop something, they'll swear or curse to themselves or something. But I do think that people talk to each other.
If I'm talking out loud when I'm having alcohol, people think I'm a bit dumb.
I think I've looked it up, and it's when you're problem solving, so I don't feel so bad about it. So it's when when you catch yourself, and you catch yourself when you're talking, what's actually going on is you're working through the process in your brain. So it's all good, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other question would be, do you think people are comfortable with the fact that everybody around them has a consciousness?
Yeah, for sure.
They're totally comfortable.
But you have to be aware of that and your implications.
Do you think they're aware?
Of how to like be okay with your consciousness, or in a sense, you know.
Okay, cool.
Just awareness in general, maybe.
Are we lacking that awareness, or do you think
I think we're losing that awareness for sure, especially in the 21st century with all this technology.
Yeah.
Like, we don't tell ourselves, we tell our phone, don't we?
Exactly.
But yeah.
That's interesting that you say that everyone sees. The paradox I'm facing with my project is the fact that it's actually impossible to document a consciousness. Even though, because every time, so even if I'm recording you now, he's recording you, your words are representing your consciousness. It's still a representation. I can't document it, can I?
No. But you can listen to my consciousness.
Indeed.
And you can sort of capture someone's consciousness, because if you think about consciousness is something which we can't control.
Okay.
But it happens anyway, if you get what I mean. So like, what's the best way I can explain this?
So you know how we talk about artificial intelligence and so on, that's very common talking point nowadays. But if one was to bring up the human consciousness, as in your consciousness, how do you think that is viewed by the public today?
I think it's skeptical.
Skeptical?
Yeah.
So people don't think they actually exist?
Put it like that, maybe not, but I'm not sure.
Not sure.
Yeah, that one's
That's interesting. If I was to say I'm a conscious being, do you think people would find that weird?
No.
If I was to go up to somebody, the same person, and say that I talk to myself all the time, do you think they'll find it weird?
Depending on your...
Definitely?
No, not definitely.
Well, what's your relationship with the person?
Who you are speaking to.
Okay.
So like, I think it just depends on the relationship you have with the other person. Obviously, if it's your friend, he's going to be like more open to who you are.
Okay.
Stranger would be a bit awkward.
Do you think, so the other question I would have is, how do you think the consciousness is viewed today, presently, as in the human consciousness?
Well, I don't know. I'm not... That's got so many answers that...
Well, if you could answer in one sentence, would you think it's viewed as weird, strange? People have said strange, weird, they're somewhere in between. Some people think about it, people don't.
I think obviously there is a consciousness. We're all thinking, and there's a consciousness outside yourself as well. So yeah.
So I think my thought is that people who are artists are pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah.
How do you think a person who's not an artist would react to the same question, which is, what do you think about talking to yourself?
What, like a businessman who?
Yeah, let's just say a businessman.
Depends on the businessman. If he's boring, then he doesn't talk to himself. If he's a quirky businessman, he's probably talking to himself and in the wrong career.
Interesting. So you're saying it's natural, but it's viewed as weird.
Yeah, in society, it's like, why are you talking to yourself? It's like a sign of being quite crazy, but I think otherwise.
So it's viewed as weird and crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, we are all conscious beings, I suppose, at the end of the day.
Why do you suppose?
Well, that's what society tells us. It tells us that we've all got a consciousness and that's how it is, and yeah. But nobody.
At the same time, it's deemed as weird and crazy.
Yeah, because I think if anybody actually expresses themselves, like says what they're really thinking or whatever, sometimes that is deemed as crazy, because in society we're repressed quite a lot.
What do you think about right now? Don't hold back.
That's a cool necklace.
He got it for me. He got it for me from the Philippines.
See, that's why it's cool.
Yeah. So therefore, you are talking to yourself right now. You did think there is a voice inside your head.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an outer voice and an inner voice.
Yes. Yeah,
and that is
external.
And that is totally okay.
Yeah, it's just how your internal it relates to the external.
Okay, last question. You have to answer simply. How is that viewed, having two voices?
Oh, I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. I can't explain it.
See, it's very hard to explain. That's what I mean. Like, you can only represent it in representations. There is no way to actually describe it or even fathom what it looks like, right? Like, what does a consciousness look like?
Depends. I feel like consciousness is like someone's aura color, if you get what I mean. So if you know about aura, like some people's aura will be red.
What color is your aura?
My aura is many colors.
The rainbow. Yeah. This question is for Mina because I know she's bilingual.
Sorry.
This question is for you because I know you're bilingual. What language do you think you're thinking inside? Like, in what language are you thinking?
That's an interesting question because sometimes I talk to myself in Farsi. I think I can say 70% I speak Farsi to myself, talk to myself, and then the rest English and sometimes.
Do you think there's a difference between the English and the Farsi consciousness?
No, I think probably it's a connection from my childhood or background. Probably I feel from there, so I feel more comfortable to. That's an interesting question, though. Yeah.
Thank you.
If you externalize your internal voice in a public place sometimes, so like people talking to themselves, that's deemed as crazy. But the fact that both exist is not crazy, that's just a fact.
Do you think the human consciousness is isolated in the modern world? Because from what I'm hearing from most people is getting your internal voice out in public is deemed as crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said before, if people sort of keep talking in public to themselves, then it's like nobody talks on the tube. Everyone's facing each other, but nobody talks to each other.
Do you think they're all thinking? Do you think they're all talking to themselves while they're sitting there in the tube?
I think that when you're sat facing someone, you do tend to maybe think about the people around you, especially on the tube, because the media is so sort of fear-mongering about, terrorism and security and stuff like that. So I think people probably do quite a lot. Something else.
Who picks the final decision? Who makes the final decision? Is it your head or is it you?
It's my guts usually who makes the final decision. It's here usually comes.
So you're saying there's a third being inside you who just picks. So you and your mind has a conversation.
My heart, my guts, what comes from here.
Intuition.
Yeah, the intuition. Yes.
So what you think is right. So you're still picking because you're thinking you're gonna pick what you think is right, right?
Yeah. what I feel is right, because what I think is right is not always right. What I feel is right is usually right. I trust more my feelings, my instinct, my intuition.
Could you please repeat that? So what you think is right isn't right. What you feel.
Sometimes it's right, but sometimes it's not always right. Your head don't always tell you the right things. While I believe that your intuition, your instinct always, most of the time, tells you the right thing to do.
And we are officially inviting you to our graduation show. You can find information about it on the CAS website. That's spelled CASS. So if you just search the CAS, you should get all of the information you need. And we'll also be leaving more information and specific dates in the description of this video. I hope to see you there. Please come.